We are being live streamed. Got it. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I really decided this last minute, like literally, I looked at the clock and I was like, "Ooh, it's 10 till 6. I'm gonna jump on real quick." So I shot an email to the guys. I think Dan can make it in 10 or 15 minutes. Hopefully, Che will be able to drop in too. But once again, I have not been paying attention to what day it is or what time it is, and I'm giving him really last minute notice. So that is my fault if they can't make it. But I think Dan might be able to make it. So let me know what you guys are up to. You can hear me. You can see me. Got my fresh haircut. Looking fly. You guys should definitely go check out a channel called Kit Bashed Survival, which does videos about all sorts of kits, off-the-shelf kits, building kits. So I thought, what better person to send a couple Rule the Wasteland survival fishing kits? Thanks, Mr. Landfill 5x5. He did a fantastic, very generous review of the Rule the Wasteland survival fishing kits, and he's got some great videos. He had a hilarious one on April Fool's Day, really high quality videos breaking down survival kits and whatnot. So definitely proud and happy to have my survival fishing kits on there. Good, Trek PMC. Glad you guys can hear. Glad you can see. Like I said, Dan is planning on dropping in 5 or 10 minutes. I really just realized what time it is and jumped on my computer to do this. Very last minute, I had to finish watching the Gators demolish LSU in Game 2 of the College World Series, where we apparently set a record for the most runs scored in the finals, at least. We were like, high score, is that bad? Did I break it? But that's good. We needed it because we lost the first game. It's only a series of 3. So I have my derpy Gator on. I saw this shirt one time and I was like, why is it retarded? But I had to have it, and it's been very lucky ever since. Cool, man. Shrek saw him plugging them. I appreciate it. And it's not even a plug. He even said in the video he doesn't take payment. I just offered, I know how it is to want content to make videos, and his is usually involved products. So he's got to either pay it or have someone sent to him. So I was like, hey, he seems like right up his alley and it would help me out. So I offered to send him some and he accepted, and I'm super pleased. He was very generous with the review, I think. I know they're great, but what's up, Brian? The world is crazy. Nuclear war talk is everywhere these days. Keep being awesome. I appreciate it, Brian. And that's mostly what we're going to talk about today, honestly. So yeah, glad we're on that topic. Nuclear war talk is crazy. Wild times. One of the most important things that I think that we should notice about the past couple of days, there's 2 things. One is still the fog of war information. You just really can't trust any information that you hear, even though like we kind of know the general gist of like, okay, there's some kind of coup or attempted coup or something that's supposed to look like a coup. Finding out exactly what's going on is almost impossible. And the second one is, regardless of what the information says, we don't have to come to like a final conclusion about anything that we hear. Certainly not right away. Usually, especially when major international relation things are concerned, taking a good 24, at least probably more like 48 hours to just see what happens is a good bet. And certainly was true in this case. As you see, I didn't even get on here to make a video. Half of YouTube and all of political pundit Twitter and TV came out with their final word on the subject, which ended up in many cases being completely wrong within less than 24 hours. So pretty hilarious. Central Salamander says, hey, Lord Among Us, thanks for keeping up with the good fight and everything going on. I try, man. It's all I know how to do is fight. What's up, Desolator Magic? Diz, good to see you here. And I have been freaking about Ocean Gate implosion nightmares. That's wild. I kind of want to talk about that too. Let me write that down because there's some interesting elements that aren't really prepping related, but it's just interesting human nature kind of idiosyncrasies that we see because with the Ocean Gate thing. Because on one hand, you have I don't think it's crazy for people to find jokes and memes and stuff about, what is a terrible thing. People died. But when it comes down to it, it is a bizarre scenario that obviously people are going to be talking about and even joking about. The number of people affected is a absolutely infinitesimal percentage of the global population, even not just the ones who die, but even just their families and everything. You're talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of people that are directly affected by something that's really, really strange. So people are going to joke about it. I don't think that makes people bad, even when they're, too soon or whatever. And then beyond that, it's really strange to me how many people are like upset by the idea of doing anything like risky or explorative, or, where's people's sense of adventure? Like, I would be like, oh, that's what you deserve for doing something risky. And I see it as the same as if someone died rock climbing or skydiving or race car driving or driving a motorcycle or doing anything that's interesting and fun and increases your risk. You're just like, yeah, sucks, man. Good evening, South Florida DCL. Who's loosing? Loosing. It's 1L or 1O, sorry. But yeah, the Ocean Gate thing lent itself to a lot of great memes because of just how bizarre the specifics around the scenario were. And I think that's why it captivated everyone. And I don't think it's some pre-planned. They purposely found a way to make some guy make a janky submarine years ago and then plan for some billionaire and some other rich people to die doing it just right now so that they could take their mind off something else. Yeah, like I said, I view it as same as anything else. You're doing something risky, you're increasing your risk of something crazy happening. Hello, folks. I believe we're not going to have to lube up for the missiles. That danger's not over yet. But yeah, that's the main topic of tonight is the coup. And like I said, for those of you who have just dropped in, appreciate it. We got 24 people and 7 likes. You know what to do. Did good last time. The thing we should learn from all this is can't trust a lot of the information, and that even information is honest, earnest, and fairly well informed. That doesn't mean that it's correct or that will end up being determinative. And the second is sit back and wait and see what happens. Sometimes people came out with their super definitive final word on the subject, 100% sure about it within hours of the first news being reported of something going on with Prigozhin and Wagner and Russia. And then they all had their super hot takes. I'm right about this. This is why you're all wrong. And then less than 48 hours later, basically the whole thing was over. So you don't really have to absorb information. That's fine, but you don't have to come to a final conclusion, change to azimuths immediately based on all this information every time. Sit back and wait to see if there's something important. What I think was most revealing to me about this whole thing as a prepper, let me know what you guys think too, is that I'm sure you guys had seen the other channels. I didn't make a video on any of this because I didn't have firsthand knowledge, but there were people who were tracking the encrypted information that's sent to nuclear submarines and some of this military activity, not like the National Guard is moving artillery, but specifically comms, plane flights, nuclear bomb sniffing stuff circling, ready to go. That ended up being actually almost certainly because of the U.S. intelligence having advanced knowledge of this going down. And it didn't end up being something as of right now that has impacted us here in the U.S. and, other than the extent that it's going to affect what's going on over there. But that there was something going on that was meaningful. This extra amount of signal intelligence and communications was because of this. I'm almost certain about that. So that could be meaningful. So going forward, that's a good thing to look at. Doesn't tell us what's going to happen, but it did mean that something was going on. So to me, that's more useful than like any bit of information specifically that we've heard about specifically what Prigozhin's doing and everything. Because that was weird. It's a weird situation. It never struck me as being real. Shrek says, I do not understand Prigozhin's motivation. He may have lost it after months on the line. There's so many different things. Like I said, you could speculate about all of them. We have everything from literally he just lost it and wanted a way out to this is a CIA planned thing that he was in cahoots with them. And all the way to, you have the Turkish coup years ago that was kind of done on purpose to root out disloyalists. That could be done. He could have been working with Putin to say, hey, I'm going to basically, this is my retirement plan. When I'm done over here and the regular army's ready to take over, I'm going to pretend to do a coup so you can see who tries to go along with me, wrap them all up. And oh yeah, Putin's definitely going to crack down on dissent more severely, whether or not what I've just said is true or not. And I think he'll come out of strengthened because of this, because it ended so quickly. All that really happened was we got to see who was willing to go along with it. They didn't do anything. They maybe took down one helicopter based on the reports I've seen, but overall didn't accomplish much other than showing him who is willing to rebel. What's up, Dan? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you too. And I must say your video quality looks exceptional today. Some nice natural lighting. It's looking good. How you doing?
I'm in a different hotel. The internet's kind of shoddy.
Clear so far, so that's good.
Excellent. Well, that's good. It's good. I'm in Quebec. which probably doesn't mean nothing. It's like France, but
Yeah, I know that the French speak.
Canada.
Beyond that, that's all I know. That's where George St. Pierre is from, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I met him today.
Yeah, right. Saw him walking around at
Fuck.
the Tim Hortons.
So what's going on? What are we talking about?
I figured we've so far just been talking about the Russian coup that's basically over before I could even make a video about it. So all that weirdness. What's your perspective on the whole thing?
Oh, so basically, from what I've seen, is these guys are like, yeah, screw Putin. We're now going to attack, and then all of a sudden it's over, just like it started.
Right. And well, the interesting thing was he had Prigozhin, the guy who leads the Mercs, basically, was kind of being pretty like purposefully saying like, no, it's not necessarily Putin, it's Shoigu and the defense minister. Like he was being like trying to say, hey, Putin, I'm not trying to take you out, even though he had at one point said maybe I'll run for president or something. But he pretty quickly came out and said like, no, it's just a defense ministry. We're not getting enough. People are stealing money out of the coffers. Really weird because it definitely seemed like either he never really planned on going through with a full coup or something massive changed right off the bat because they didn't do much and then it's over instantly. You know what I mean? So really weird, really weird. But
Gotcha.
I don't know what to think. Desolator says, what are you doing on Zoom? Go put out the fires.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of fires going on in Quebec right now. It is. I woke up this morning. The smog was so bad that the air quality in Quebec is 151. I don't know if that means anything to you, but apparently it's really, really after 150. You shouldn't even really be outside.
Yeah, it isn't like if you're in a house that's on fire, it's like 300 or something, right?
Yeah.
I forget. So it's bad. I mean, I remember it's similar to like how New York was a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, from Canada.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody was blaming Canada.
Yeah. So let's see. Air quality index basics. I want to look at that. See what this is. So 150 is red. Members of the public may experience health effects. Yeah. So bad. No good. Do they have any shot at them like taking that like increase or fixing it, I guess, putting the fires out? How are they looking?
Well, apparently it is supposed to rain for the next 5 days here in Quebec. So that's probably going to help, but who knows, man? It's you would think that we had a down when I was driving up here yesterday. It was raining so bad that people were pulling over to the side of the road.
It's funny because I used to live in Florida, obviously, for most of my life, and we get torrential downpours there, to where like it will hurt. You can't see like 50 feet in front of your car, that sort of thing. So then when I moved out here to Vegas, people freak out when it rains. It'll be like what I would consider barely a sprinkle. And people are like pulling over and they forget how to drive. And they're like, oh my God, don't go outside. It's raining. And I'm like, bro, in Florida, we would say it's stopped raining because it's like drizzling. So it's definitely hilarious to see the difference.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm just going to get into the YouTube here. I'm just going to mute myself so there's no feedback.
Yeah, no problem. I'll just say that for people talking about maybe CIA tried to buy a revolution, that's certainly possible. For me, like I said, the good thing is that this really, no matter what the answer is in terms of what's going on for Prigozhin and Putin, it doesn't really affect what we have to do. Like we should recognize that any instability increases the threat risk of something major happening. But beyond that, day to day, like doesn't change what we need to do. But my instinct is that, like I said, this was never really it was never really going to be a full coup or something massive changed very quickly. And given that the United States seemed to know about it with the way they came out and did this speech about better not do anything crazy, and the way the coded messages were being sent, such a dramatic increase right before it happened. I think they knew about it. So I think that it was not anything drastic changed. I think that maybe it could be so many things. It could be that this is just a way for them to try to move stuff around without it seeming like they were trying to,
The last thing that I seen, Putin was putting a bunch of nuclear warheads on its borders, nuclear weapons on his borders. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, global warming is about to get a whole lot global warming.
Well, that's interesting too, because that was he moved a bunch to Belarus, and now the Wagner guy is like, you know what? The coup's over, you get to go retire to Belarus of all places. So like some people are saying there's something going on there. Really weird.
It just seems like there's so much distraction going on, and like why is this distraction happening so much? Just like the 5 dudes that went down to go visit the Titanic.
Yeah, we were talking about that. People were talking about that very on, like weird shit. I really can't see how that would have been like a purposeful created event. But I mean, I think obviously if there's something going on that the media doesn't want you to talk about, they will certainly amplify anything else. That doesn't mean they created that event. But if they see something that people are already willing to talk about, they'll just be like, yeah, 100%, just do wall-to-wall coverage on that and get people's minds off it. But the interesting thing to me, too, about Russia is that I haven't heard anything about Ukraine being able to take advantage of this. I really feel like if Russia was just 100% surprised that Wagner, who is doing most of the fighting in Bakhmut and a big portion of Ukraine, just decided to stop, turn around, and attack Russia, that Ukraine should have been able to take a massive advantage of that. It should have been a gaping hole left, but it does not seem to be that's the case, which means in my mind, Russia was either knew it was going to happen or they weren't doing nearly as much there as it had been led to, I've been led to believe in terms of how much Wagner Group is really doing.
I don't know if you guys were ever kind of taught this in the American military, but remember when you want to deceive your enemy? So basically, you want to attack column B.
Right.
So you're going to put a whole bunch of stuff into column A. You're going to send in artillery strikes. You're going to, send drones. You're going to send aircraft. And then the enemy that's all protecting column B is going to be like, holy fuck, they're going over to column A, and they're going to divide their forces, or they're going to move all their forces over to column A. And then all of a sudden, column B is left completely undefended. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you have column B in your power.
Right.
So could this have been a distraction to say, holy shit, I think we can lighten the load. This main general is now going to attack Russia. But have we seen any has there been any damage? Has there been any war fighting on the TV? Has there been any, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all I heard was that Prigozhin himself was like, oh, they launched artillery at us and killed some of my guys, but like that's all I've heard, and then instantly it's over and he's allowed to live and just kind of retire. Like, doesn't seem to be like the way they would handle it if it was a legit coup, you know what I mean?
Well, exactly. Was there any video evidence proof? We live in the days of the everyone's got one of these things. Fine, right. I just dropped it.
Yeah, I broke
a cell phone. So there's cell phone videos.
What
everywhere.
I saw was like them raiding the Wagner Group offices in Moscow, but it was really like lackadaisical. There were guys like sitting in the square with like civilians on bicycles filming them. So it was just like a normal police raid. They weren't, whoever was in there was administrators, not soldiers. But yeah, as SBQ Cincinnati says, what I think we can say is that this Wagner event is likely not exactly what it appears to be. Exactly. But the weirdness of it is I have no idea exactly what it appears to be even, you know what I mean? Because it does not appear to be a actual coup. So, but we can, I really think face value is not what it is. And there may be elements of that. Like I really don't, the Russians don't strike me as being so Machiavellian that like everything Prigozhin's been whining about the whole time was a complete ruse. You know what I mean? He probably was disgruntled and they may have used some element of that. Or maybe he said like, you know what? I have an ultimatum, either do this or I'm out of here. And then they're like, used that to set it up and be like, all right, well, do this. And maybe I can see which of my generals join you and get rid of them, that kind of thing. And you'll be allowed to retire. Who knows? But usually the most elaborate conspiracy theories are not true. And usually the most NPC, this is exactly what it appears to be, are also not true. So I tend to just kind of disregard the 10% on either side of the spectrum of possibilities unless there's strong evidence for it. So
I hate to say it, but everything in the last 3 years, I've now just questioned everything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's even weirder than that is the way that I've had to question the stuff that's come out about Ukraine and Russia and stuff that we've initially seen and then actually been proven to be wrong, I'm like, holy shit, this is what they're trying to get away with when we have like actual video evidence, actual ability to imagine what they got away with when this wasn't the case. Like, it makes me not believe anything I've ever heard about historical military. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably all complete bullshit.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some of the stuff that happens and the stuff that goes on, stuff that well, like I said, it's the distraction of okay, you know, something's going to happen here, so let's make everybody think in the world that this is happening. Well, you know,
someone says it's a humongous razor instead of Occam's razor. The humongous razor is actually walk away and I spare your lives. That would be an end to the horror. But no, the interesting thing is, either way, whether this was a coup that spectacularly failed, or it was some, 3D chess Machiavellian plan, or some kind of combination of the two, in either case, I think it increases the threat to us, which is of nuclear engagement. You know what I mean? Because if it is a Machiavellian plan, it's so that Russia can set up to be even more ready for NATO. If it is a CIA-backed coup, obviously that creates more instability. And if it's just, as it appears on its face, a coup within the Russians that was quickly squashed, again, instability is the worst thing that can happen in terms of how it can affect us. Not necessarily for Ukrainians, but instability in Russia makes it more likely that someone gets their hands on a nuke, someone decides to feel threatened, someone sets something off, or NATO gets more ballsy and does something that causes that. Someone says, what was your MOS? I was in 90, what is it? 88 Alpha, sorry. 88 Mike is the truck drivers. I was the officer. That's the transportation officer. Yeah.
We call them MSE ops in Canada. People that drive the vehicles and stuff. And there was a song that the infantry made up. It was called I'm a failure, I'm a flop, I'm an MSE op.
I was just talking to someone about this, how like, I was like, it's kind of fucked up. Like all the songs they make you sing while you're marching are about like dying and someone banging your girl when you're away, like Jody banging your girl when you're gone, and how bad the food is. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how about like, let's get
yeah, we won Vietnam. Oh,
right.
Wait.
Yeah, shit. Never mind. Napalm sticks to kids. Napalm sticks to kids. Yeah, so it's 88 Alpha. So 88 Mike, but an officer, transportation officer. Another point,
which we should congratulate him, because he just found himself out of the corn maze.
Yeah,
it's been 15 years. Congratulations, Eric.
Finally got the last point on my land nav course. Just bumped my shin on it. I was actually good at land nav. I don't even want to say I was good, but I always accomplished land nav because I am bad at it. I was so like anal about it that I would like literally be like an autistic freak about counting my pace count and rechecking things on the map. But every time we did land nav, I would be like, this is it. This is the time that I'm lost. I'm never going to find. Oh, there's my point. Because I would do like a religious pace count, and I would check every terrain feature. And then I would do your little clover pattern search from where I ended up to find it. And like, I always found them. Just because I was so worried that I wouldn't, that I didn't get lazy about it. But I did get lost in Kuwait when we were there, and there was like 2 roads.
Oof. That's getting lost in those places is
but they were like it was commercial roads though. It's not like I was wandering around in the desert. Like I just had to drive between like Buring and Arifjan, and there's like one turn, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where's the turn?
That's funny.
Texas, I used to compete. Oh, and like orienteering, that's cool. They're not allowed to sing them anymore. I was just thinking that. I was like, because I was talking to someone about that, and I was like, there's 0 chance they're still singing about napalm sticking to kids. Zero chance. And I was like, but that wasn't that long ago. I'm not that old. Haven't even hit 40 yet. So I was like,
I don't know how it's going down in the States, but up here in Canada, man, like it is. Our military is, it wasn't the biggest military, but now it's like we're losing guys left, right, and center, and they're just now they're doing everything to keep people in. I see a dude with a pink beard, pink hair.
Yeah, I mean, and they let people wear it for all the different reasons. You can have a turban or a beard, and I'm like, I thought the reason I couldn't have a beard was because the gas mask couldn't stick or whatever. All these tactical official reasons they have, and I'm like, but I guess if you have the right religion, the gas mask still works with your giant beard, and your helmet still fits on your turban or your braids or whatever. But yeah, I got out because of mostly annoying, like logistic, bureaucratic, managerial stuff. Before, most of it, we had to do the sexual harassment briefings, and it was stupid, but it was nothing like it is now. And from what I can tell now, not only did they kick a lot of, would-be excellent soldiers out because of the vaccination stuff, who they didn't want to comply, they, you got all the crazy like trans stuff going on and ideological bullshit, and people allowed to have cell phones and basic training apparently, and everything like weird. You can't yell at people anymore. And yeah, really wild stuff.
So they I was just working on a base. They don't have to blouse their boots anymore. So it's just
really
the
sloppy, just looking all ate up,
just
absolute rat fuck
garbage
battalion. Oh, horrible.
Just they look like guys with long hair. It's not even fitting in the beret anymore. It's just
pure ass.
greasy. It is to the point where, and then I'm talking to guys. I'm like, so how is it? He's like, I'm waiting for my 20, and then I'm getting the fuck out of here. People are leaving the Canadian forces so quickly that they can't get people in. There's a battalion. I can't remember who it was, which battalion it was, but I heard a story on another podcast. A battalion you're supposed to have, in Canada, between 700 and 900 guys. They have 100 troops in that battalion.
So they're like completely not deployable.
Canada isn't
right
deployable. They keep saying, oh yeah, we're going to send this, we're going to do this. So Ukraine in Canada, I know the States have spent tons and tons of money in Ukraine, but for Canada, we don't really have that much money, but they've already sent over $8.5 billion in 13 months. The Afghan war, we spent, I think it was $18 billion.
Over however many years.
for 13 years. And we were paying troops. Right. So now we're just giving all this money, but I don't know. It just doesn't, it's not adding up.
Yeah, I agree with Shrek that the no blouses thing really bothers me. And I have to admit, I was really, really bad about not always having my uniform completely squared away. And I was so glad when we moved to the boots, you didn't have to shine, because I was really bad about shining my boots. But still, the not blousing the boots for some reason really bothers me. And also, I'm still, to this day, when I see someone in a movie like walk outside and not like put their cover on, I get like an eye twitch.
Oh, yeah. I was a master corporal when I left. So that's I know you guys, you just have your corporal and then sergeant. So pretty much that was like
E5.
Yeah. So it was like
E4. You're like a specialist at E4.
Yeah. Anyway, so you had your leadership, blah blah blah. So when I see this no blousing of blue boots, or if I just see a scruffy beard, or someone's not shaved or what have you, it's just like I feel. And walking on grass.
Yeah,
the troops are walking all over the fucking grass.
Some sergeant major somewhere is like literally fucking dying of an infarction. Yeah, someone says I can't imagine saluting a man in a dress. I don't think I could. I would just be like,
it'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, seriously, ma'am, sir, ma'am.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it's
rough times.
And now look at decimation of a military force. How easy would it be for another force to come in and just kind of take over?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is, and this is what I've said to people, like when we saw a few days ago or a week ago that there was a lot of material being moved in the U.S. for whatever reason, it spiked again, or people were posting videos of they're moving tanks, moving helicopters, which happens every once in a while. Everyone's like, oh, they're preparing for an invasion or for martial law, whatever. Obviously, neither was true. But the invasion stuff is always like, we would need we would have such an advanced notice of anybody invading us. It's impossible. Like, no one has that type of force projection. Like, to invade the US, you would need literally millions of troops. And like, that's literally thousands or tens of thousands of aircraft carriers full of troops that would have to come over here and like establish a beachhead. Like, there's zero chance. Like, to even bring 10,000 troops over on planes or ships is a massive undertaking from China or Russia. We would know so far out. And also, like, where are they going to land that they would be able to even hold a small part of the US with even 50, 100,000 troops? It's just never going to happen within unless, drastic change. Like if the EMP is first or something, sure. But still, they don't have the ability to bring 100,000 troops over here in any reasonable amount of time. So they're not going to invade us. They're just going to continue to let us dissolve.
So
we're doing a fine job of our own.
I think what's going to happen is mass immigration, and we're getting 1 million people in Canada a year.
Yeah.
So let's just say out of those 1 million people in Canada, 100,000 guys are, fighting age males. So they build up after, say, 5 years.
Yeah,
they
could do like activate sleepers. Who know? I think it's more likely that they're allowing and supporting anything that destabilizes the country. That they're not actually trying to take it over militarily, but they just want it to, weakened.
Right. But we're getting closer and closer to the big reset, the fall of a civilization, which every civilization falls. So it's going to be an interesting. Are we, is it going to happen next week or next month or next year? Probably not. But,
right.
5 years from now, 2030, 7 years from now.
15, 20 years from now, obviously something's going to be majorly different with our economic system, with technology, all that. So it's like, who knows what's going to happen?
But that's crazy, man. The world is turning to shit, and there's really nothing, you can do about it. Right. I think we've already passed Rubicon.
Yeah, we've definitely passed the point where it can just get fixed and go back to where it was. Now, it's not guaranteed that we're going to suffer some sort of like insane collapse, because there are things we could do to mitigate that, but they're going to be dire. And I think it's more likely that the sane parts of the country, and maybe even your country too, will realize what's happening. But I don't see the country being able to do the right thing as a whole. I think there'll be some kind of like breakup that isn't necessarily going to be violent, but there's just too many people now that would be unwilling and even unable to do the right thing, that it'll just end up being like I hate the term the national divorce that gets thrown around, but I do think that there'll just be some kind of breakup or like restructuring of borders to where they're like, you know what, we're going to do our own thing here. You guys all want to do this. None of us want to do that. Why do we need to be in the same kind of system? And just kind of a little bit. And hopefully that's the way it will go, because that's the least. And then obviously on the other end of the spectrum, you have complete collapse and or some kind of, balkanization, civil war type thing, like like we've seen overseas. But I think something like that's going to happen in the next 20 years, barring the aliens showing up and giving us free resources or something.
Well, I thought aliens already showed up.
They showed up in Vegas. There was one in Vegas. There was like some meteorite that like was on multiple cops' body cams. That you could see the meteorite, and it was green. It looked exactly like the one that just showed up in Queensland, Australia, too, like a few weeks later. And then there was some family that like said they had weird 10-foot tall people in their backyard. And I was like, yeah, why couldn't it be my backyard? These people were like, it was less than 10 miles from me. So I'm like, I would have not only would I have a lot better video for you, I'd have some alien meat for us to grill up and taste.
Oh, man. Delicious.
Yeah. Des said go interview them. Yeah, they like went underground. It was really weird. So like they gave some reports, and then they said people harassing them, and they're like couldn't be found. And the police actually like put a camera system on their house, and they were like, oh, to make them feel better. And I'm like, to feel safer. And I'm like, people get robbed and murdered and stuff all the time in this city. Like, and they're not giving them free security cameras. So why are they giving them to the alien people?
It's the start of Project Bluebeam.
Right, something's going on. What's up, Chris? If you guys have any specifics you want to talk about, go for it. But like I said, for those who just dropped in, since we've talked about all the Russian stuff, the most important thing to remember is that it doesn't matter who is right or about it, that we have to do the same thing back on our end. Like, it doesn't change what we need to do. It may increase the risk of us needing our preps, but it doesn't change the preps that we need. So, gotta just get your food, get your water, get your respirators, train, all that good stuff.
Yeah, unless it's nuclear war, then it's just pretty much go outside and wait.
Well, it depends on where they land. You know what I mean? If they just like blast a couple of military bases, it's not going to wreck the whole country.
I understand, but the fallout, once that shit gets into the atmosphere, and you guys seen what happened, our forest fires up here in Canada, that smoke got up into the wind stream, and then it blew everything down.
That's why you need that's why you got to be able to filter. But if you can filter your air and stay sheltered for like 72 hours, it really drops down on the risk. And most of the larger particles would have like settled by then anyway. And if you can stay sheltered for like a week, you're really safe then, because it just doesn't last that long, luckily.
Right.
The major radiation anyway. But hopefully we won't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Canadian Prepper seems to think that we're like guaranteed to get nukes, which I'm not of that mind, but
I thought the Canadian Prepper's been like we've like survived 18 doomsdays in the last fucking 18 months. So
yeah,
I don't
know. Yeah,
I guess he's bound to be right one of the times.
Right.
But...
Well, he hasn't done any specific predictions about like when there's going to be a doomsday. And I do like his daily dose of doom and gloom, as he called it, but it is it's on the farther end of the spectrum in terms of like thinking how bad things are. It doesn't mean it's wrong. And it could be right and still end up not happening. He could anything could happen.
Oh, 100%.
And it could be.
I like listening to his podcast as well. It's
right.
Interesting. But and it's like, oh shit, I've never thought of that one before. So it's always good to be kind of learning new stuff all the time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and so it's fun. And I totally agree with the people who are like, I'm sick of hearing about how bad everything is. Like, yeah, don't watch him then. You know what I mean? He literally calls it the daily dose of doom and gloom. Like, he knows it's all the bad news that you can consolidate. But it's easier for me because I'm trying to read it all. You know what I mean? Just watch that shit, and a few other people that are good at consolidating the different sources without being super biased about it. And if everyone has biases, you just recognize what they are and interpret it through that lens. But it's still, not heavily biased or anything.
So I would be having a live stream on my TikTok,
Nice.
but I got banned.
You got banned, damn.
Yeah,
What'd you do?
I was speaking my mind, I guess.
Well, that's the whole channel, right?
Yeah, so it's
bound to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, it really upset a lot of people. I was talking about this drag queen story armor that was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of getting really bad, and I guess it's really upsetting a lot of people. So
no, probably just upset a few noisy people.
Well, of course, but you get enough votes to get something taken away, then it happens. Which
Well, the interesting thing is, and I was talking to someone else about this, that like there's so many people now that have internet access and everything that even a small percentage of the population, if they decide to like do everything at once. So like, let's say there's only 50,000 people in the country that would be okay with drag queen story hours, probably worse, but let's say it's only 50,000 in the entire country. If 10 or 20,000 people all start messaging, all start calling, all start doing stuff at once, that's going to seem like overwhelming, to a channel. Or if you get 2,000 reports of like hate speech at once, that's really nothing in the grand scheme of things, but that's just bombards your channel. And it's the same for any small business. If they get picked up and they start going viral, some donut shop, because they said something mean, and 5, 10, 20,000 people start trying to call them, it'll feel like the entire world's against them when it's really just a fraction of the population. And most people don't even care. They don't care enough to like support. You're not going to call them up being like, I agree with you, even if you do, because it's just, so it'll only feel like negative bombardment just constantly. Looks like Che may be able to make it on in a minute. That'd be nice. He said in the chat.
It'd be good to see him again.
Yeah. He made it last time, luckily. So yeah, but it'll be cool if he can drop in for sure, man. Yeah, man. Still got. I got nowhere to be right now.
I don't know.
What's up? Broke up for a second. I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Oh yeah, sorry. My phone was going off here, but I'm just going to turn that down right now so we don't have any more interruptions.
Yeah, no worries. All right, there he is. The man, the real Canadian prepper.
Oh,
right?
Look.
Yep.
Check. Gentlemen, how are you?
What's up? I'm good, man.
All I saw was a salute.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said something about saluting a man in a dress, and we're like, your hair is getting kind of long. So we're like, I can handle that.
We're back to that the Navy talk from last time.
Right.
Yes.
Well, we had just gone on. We just talked about the military getting weird, so I had to keep it up.
Well, that was we were saying like Daniel and you back in the military, the Navy days. The Navy.
Yep.
It was your
I was Big Spoon though, for the record. Big Spoon. Eric
I
is
had
a
a-
little bitch.
No, I had officer bunks, man. I had
Officer bunks,
yeah,
right?
officers' quarters. We had our own. I just
That's
shared. We had a little. There's like a trailer with one bathroom in the middle. I got to share with one other lieutenant. It's pretty chill. Pretty chill.
I was watching a porn star, OnlyFans girl, the other day. I was not subscribed. I don't subscribe to any of these ladies. It was an interview about
okay.
her experience, and she was going on about how she. We'll save this for. We got to create some sort of I can't say this on the air. Never
Yeah,
mind.
right. We are live.
Yes, gentlemen. How are you doing? What have you done to your preps this week? You know what I did last night? This was great. I had a wonderful woman. Went out to this little spot. Did the tent thing, and made the shavings. Made a fire from scratch. The ferro rod, and it was a really good. I had prepped everything. It was just nice to be manly for a night.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I haven't done. I mean, it's been like a week since I last talked to you, Che, and I haven't done much, man. I've been like specifically, I went and re-upped on my stag chili. I eat those fairly regularly, so I had to go to Walmart and pick those up. But beyond that, like making sure everything's in order, but not anything specific because, like I said, I try not to react to everything. You know what I mean? I try to take the big picture approach of the preps, and whatever I evaluated my preps as being 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago, nothing drastically has changed since then. So I try not to react to every piece of news unless it's something really specific and really likely. So I really haven't changed. Yeah, I haven't done anything dramatic in the past week.
Interrupt you for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
The audience might get a kick out of this too. I'm in Canada. You had mentioned one canned food that had like retarded amount of protein in it. You made a video about this. Can you? I haven't checked to see if they have any here in Canada. Do you want to force people to go watch your video, or do you want to share?
No, go for it. Which one was it? Was it the stag chili?
That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah,
Was it stag?
Well, the canned chili in general. I think the video was about the wolf chili, but since I made that video way back in the day, I've discovered that I like the stag better, just tastes better. But the canned chili in general, it's all pretty much the same in terms of the split because it has like a good macro split. You got carbs, protein, and fat, which is really hard.
Think of something else.
Okay. But it's just really hard to find any one thing that lasts long that has all that in, like rice, pure carbs. Obviously finding fats and proteins is tougher.
Fair.
But like the chili, it's all there, and it's in a pretty even split, like 30, percentages,
right.
almost, and it's not expensive either. $2.50 a can, something like that. So
right.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
So and the stag,
bring Daniel in, but Daniel on the runs. He's talking about his diarrhea issue with stag chili before. So just saying.
Yep.
How you doing, Daniel?
Good, brother. Yourself? It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Let's see. I added 2 things to my preps.
Cool, man.
Let's see if I can.
I haven't started fire in a while. It's just nice to start fire.
I know, right? Oh, nice.
All right.
You watching that Terminalist show where he kills everybody with tomahawks?
Well, I figured just because they're nice, it's a good, they're nice and sharp, and they could be really a good weapon. Really, when you think about it, if you don't have any weapons on hand,
what's the modus? Would you go the blade or the spike or one in each? What's the attack mode?
Well, I'd probably use the spike for the attack mode, and then the blade for the actual chop wood. But I guess I added those to my preps. I bought some more ammo for my preps. Unfortunately, it's because now I'm in Quebec, so there's really nothing. All my preps are back home. Everything is in my area, but when I come to the areas like this, I try to buy things that I'm going to need if I have to get the fuck back to Alberta, right? If I can, especially, and now that I'm even a province further away, it's one of those things. How far am I going to be able to make it if I have to make it? So that the ammos to make it as far as I can go on those rounds, and then the axes will be good for if I have to chop up some wood for a fire when I'm walking back to Alberta, because I imagine fuel will be hard to get. But or even if I can make it on the roads.
Yeah.
Only time will tell, though.
Yeah. You had one of those like electric bikes, didn't you? Do you still have that?
Oh yeah, electric scooter.
Oh, the scooter. Yeah, yeah.
But really, in the big scheme of things, that's only going to last. Carrying my fat ass with a bunch of supplies is probably going to last me another hour driving, right? So
Yeah,
I guess if I
10
could,
miles, 15 miles, maybe.
yeah, definitely. If now, mind you, maybe I can get a little wagon, pull a bunch of stuff, and then stop every hour or two, and then maybe plug into some sort of outdoor power or such. But
Yeah.
that's one of those things you never know.
Right.
Or
Definitely.
maybe just take fuel from people that
don't have
right.
people that don't have tomahawks.
That's right. 100%.
Silly humans.
Yeah.
Damn.
Just walk away and I spare your lives.
It'd just be a Conan Barbarian type, the priestesses and the snake.
Yeah, right.
Hairless murder apes. That's all we are, is hairless murder apes. I've always thought if you're doing the geostash concept, in addition to getting, incorporate that with getting to your bug out location. Obviously, Daniel, you've got some exigent circumstances here. You're out of the, it's work related, your province is away. But I mean, if it's between your personal work, traditionally what somebody's personal work is, and their bug out location and their house or whatever it is, put some geostashes and plan not so you're like, oh, I'm going to drive here,
right?
Be there in 10 minutes. No. Plan for worst case scenario. If you really want to go advanced, pretend like you've got an injury or taking your girlfriend and she's got a broken leg. How would you contend with those logistics?
Got to put her out of her misery.
With
the pointy side.
With the pointy side. Just
That'd be an easy choice for a few.
Be like in the end of. Have you ever seen that movie? That movie Warrior, where he's like has to fight his brother at the end, and he's like choking him out. And he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
Haven't seen Warrior. No. Well,
that's
interesting.
But probably in the big scheme of things, if something were to happen, Shay, it'd probably be to the location in Ontario until a plan can be made to whether if I have to be there a few weeks or a few months, and then if a plan has to be made, then I can at least kind of give my I don't want to say skills, but my expertise, things that I've learned to that area. And then when it's time to leave, then it's time to make my journey. Because hopefully, in a few weeks or a few months, things have calmed down a lot, or it's just complete anarchy and it's
either they haven't calmed down and everyone's dead. So either way, it's easier.
Because it depends what happens, really, right?
And my luck.
What are we?
No, 100%. And my luck would be I've committed so many atrocities. I'll just have to be living in the woods.
You're a war criminal, and they're like, "Bro, it was only a county that lost power. What are you doing?"
The power was only out for a week, man.
Right.
5 years, 5 years later.
Yeah.
Blood on your face.
Like those guys in the Pacific. Those Japanese soldiers that like refused to accept that the war was over unless their commanding officer told them.
Dude, that's
they're running around for like 20
fucking...
years in the woods.
Yeah, I was just reading about that in one book.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It was Robert Greene, and I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, it's not wild.
It was like years, and it was like this allegiance
years.
to the emperor. It was
right. Yeah, and they finally got him to give up by like sending their commanding officer out there like in his pain and being like, "Here, stand down."
No, he said something specific. Like they dropped all these like memos into the
forest.
Like,
bro, it's over.
Right. Yeah, and he was like, "No,
it's a trick." Yeah, he's like, "It's a trick."
And what was it? It was something specific to the emperor.
It was either like the emperor or his commanding officer. Somebody had to like say,
"Wants to see you." No, they had said something. The message was the emperor wants to see you. Thank you for your service.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. It was like counterintuitive. There's some sort of psychological play that.
Like they said, you're being like getting an
award.
Then
he revealed himself after 20 years. He's like, "Oh, okay, here I am." And he wrote a book, made his rounds in Japan. It was phenomenal story. But talk about, I think the point or the metaphor was just this, like just such a powerful connection to or allegiance to something.
Yeah,
Japanese
insane.
are good at that. I mean, look at what's the term with the planes.
The kamikaze, yeah.
Yeah, just to condition love
Right.
means this for your country. To do this is
It's pretty wild. Yeah, my
it is.
grandfather was over there in the Pacific, and I think he was in Guam. He may have been in a couple of the other islands too, but he said in one of them, like, there were some of the guys, they had mostly taken over the island, but there were still some of those like stragglers out there. And he said,
Yeah.
they were basically cut off from the regular Japanese army. And some of the guys had like snuck into the camp. They were so fucking hungry that they tried to like stand in the chow line and like cover their faces and like get food. And they're basically like, yeah, what are you doing? And like captured them. But at that point they were like, because they thought that they assumed that we were going to be treating them like they treated our prisoners. So they were just like, oh, like, man, if we knew it was like this, we would have given up weeks ago and got some food. Because we didn't abuse them or anything, at least not on a large scale. I'm sure stuff happened occasionally, but it wasn't like a system of prison camps and stuff like they had.
Well, you gentlemen certainly know more about that stuff than I do.
No, I mean, I just know what he told me. I wasn't there.
I just with like military in general.
Oh yeah, before my time. Speaking of military, we started originally talking about this goofy, crazy chaos of a coup that then ended in 24 hours. What's your take on the whole situation in Russia?
Indulge me. I was up north offline. I literally got back later this afternoon and just unpacking.
Well, that's what's wild. Is that like you missed the whole thing, and that's what's so crazy.
I missed the whole thing.
Right. Everybody was coming out. Like I didn't make a video within the past week or so, and everyone's come out with their hot take, and this is the final word, and then less than 48 hours later, and it's all over, different, done. So really weird.
What happened exactly? Like
no one knows exactly. The official story is that the Prigozhin, which is the leader of the Wagner PMC that's been doing a lot of the fighting over there, like has been upset with the Kremlin for a long time, specifically the defense ministry, and basically was like, fuck this, we're going to come turn on the Russians now and fight the Russians, take over, some kind of coup. So it was just some kind of coup. And then before everyone could even figure out exactly what was going on, it was like over and he's leaving to go to Belarus. And it's like, he's not a war criminal anymore.
I'm out of the fucking loop. Yeah. I hope preppers are looking at like, what's Jay's take on this thing? Because I've been, if you guys heard even, not just the last show, but the shows before that, I traditionally try to shut myself out from, I want to know, listen, if there's a nuclear explosion, right. If there's, let's just say mass fires where half the country's on fire.
Right.
Sure. Okay.
That happens.
Well, it's funny because that's what I said earlier in the stream is that like, it's pointless to try and pivot for everything that you see in the news ever, because it's like a guy's running up to you like chat about and you're trying to dodge punches and do like adjust to what he's doing when he's still 100 feet away from you. You know what I mean? You're like, you got to wait until these things are actually coming at you and matter, because the crazy guy might turn and run away or jump in the dumpster. We might not even be coming at you. You know what I mean? And trying to like pivot and adjust and make a new plan for every thing we hear in the news is crazy, especially because half of it's bogus, the other half will change. So
half.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, even the stuff that's legit, like it doesn't end up the way you necessarily think it's going to. So one way or other, 99% of the stuff doesn't happen exactly the way we kind of probably first expect.
Here's the thing. As I'm getting older, and Eric, you're going to discover this in about 5 to 10 years when you get a little bit more grumpy.
Are you that much older than me?
Than me and Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel's got a lot of rage.
You guys are only 5 or 6 years ahead of me, I think.
You only have so many fucks per day. Like my patience with people is just.
We don't need to hear about your erectile dysfunction, all right?
Tar. All right, let's not go there. But we won't talk about your time in the Navy. And then
only so many. You only get 3 fucks a day.
Right. At the end of the day, I think this is more about where do you want the real estate of your mind? Where do you want to invest the real estate of your mind? We're saturated with all these decisions and things that are, beeping in front of us. And it was unbelievably fucking relaxing to just disappear from it.
I believe
it. Last night, have a glass of wine, some good company. And
and even if it doesn't
hear the sound of a fucking fire.
Yeah, I love that. even if it doesn't bother, like some people can absorb all that without necessarily getting, bothered by it. How much of that's really productive? You know what I mean? Does watching this hours a day and trying to get all the information, has it put you ahead at all of anyone who was just out in the woods relaxing for the weekend? Because if it hasn't, then what's the point? Even if it didn't bother you, if you didn't gain anything because of it, then probably put your efforts elsewhere.
There's probably a way you could reverse engineer this psychologically to say, okay, XYZ information came in, was spending my time going through this process and feeling all this fear and anxiety and stress over said situation worth it? Or if I just said, I've got better things to do with my fucking time than, listen to some preparedness video that's just like, watch this,
Yeah.
and you're gonna, like some of these dudes, they just go over the fucking top. And
yeah,
unfortunately, a lot of people that are in this, I don't say a lot, I don't know what the ratio, I don't know what the numbers, but at least here in Canada, there's, people are afraid and they have this sort of anxiety mental point of origin that it's never enough. They could look at their food stocks and think, oh, I need more food. I got to order medications. And, look, you're ahead of the fucking crowd. I mean, preppers, there's a small minority of people. Daniel's like, yeah, I got to shoot my way out. And I'm thinking, dude, like, with all due respect, Daniel, chime in, please. I don't think you're going to need to shoot your way out. I think you're advanced enough that you're going to be one of the compassionate people helping people along the trail.
Yeah, but interestingly, and I agree, but I think that is the thinking about that is what allows us to be the type of people who can react better in a situation. Because if you totally disregard any type of violence or craziness as a possibility, you've never dealt with it mentally, certainly never prepared for it physically, if a crazy situation does happen, you're just going to be lost. Whereas if you're ready to, it's a whole speak softly, carry a big stick, or be nice, be polite, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet, that sort of thing. Like, that's what allows you to.
Sorry, dude, finish your thought, please.
That was it. Yeah.
There's a scene in The Road. It's a great movie. Daniel, go for it, brother.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a scene in the movie The Road. Great. It's don't watch it if you're lonely. It's
bleak. It's bleak. Yeah.
It's very great. Yeah. And surprisingly, Robert Duvall, this looks nothing like Robert Duvall. He's in this movie. And Viggo Mortensen, I believe is his name, is the main character. They stumble across this older man and he's just, in disarray on the road, and very polite and very humble. They give him some food and, they crash out and have a little fire over the night. And Viggo doesn't trust him. There's just this inherent non-trust mask. It's very evident clearly throughout the interaction, irrespective of the fact that they're going through hardship. He's starving. He's been nothing but polite and innocent, and portrayed all these characteristics. And that could be the unfortunate reality that we will have to go through. It doesn't matter, because people wear masks all the fucking time. And they'll be very good at hiding who they are in order to circumvent your psychology as a means of surviving. So it's, Daniel, maybe you're right. Maybe you got to shoot your way out of, to get where you need to get to. But I've always thought, like a 22 would be good in these sorts of situations for small game,
100%. And really, I do joke a lot, but in the big scheme of things, it is going to be such chaos, at the very beginning, until things start to calm down, when, people start to, get their communities together. But, the initial first 7 days, when people realize that, these things don't work anymore, there's no way to check your stocks online. All the toilet paper's gone, all the gas stations are sold out, everyone's taking everything from the grocery stores except the tofu. And then there is going to be absolute chaos going on. And I think some people are going to be okay with it, calm, because they've had that chaos before in their lives, depending on what's happened to them, or they've prepared for it. They've put themselves in that type of situation. So when it finally does happen, it's not going to bother them as much as, the guy that's been playing Xbox, 18 hours a day and, drinking, Pepsi, and then it's just going to finally hit and people are just going to be like, now what? So when I say I'm going to have to shoot my way out, I always joke about it, but really in the big scheme of things, I'll be prepared for if I have to do that, but I don't think I'll ever have to do that, especially here in Canada, unless you get to, banjo playing areas, but
that's probably where you're safest though also.
Well, yeah,
exactly.
People,
they're the most self-sufficient, that sort of thing.
Nobody finds the fat kid attractive, so I'll be fine, is what you're saying.
I don't know. That's speaking of the banjo, he's the one who got it the worst.
This is true.
In Deliverance.
Yep, that's what I was thinking of.
But yeah,
yeah, no, man, he got it worse than all of them.
when you're ready for it, I don't think it's going to be as bad as when you're not ready.
I mean, yeah.
Let's just let Daniel live in denial. That's right. Yeah.
Some people like more a cushion for the pushing.
If you, me, and Eric went camping and we ran into the Deliverance situation, statistically speaking, it's not looking good for you, Daniel. That's all.
I don't know. I'm pretty, but I'm quick. I can climb up a tree. And...
I'm quick too. I'm
yeah, exactly. You're getting jacked.
Yeah.
I have been practicing squealing like a pig, so it's
yes.
Oh man!
I get louder when my ear gets twisted.
Yeah. Dirty. Oh man, good times.
It's always good that no matter how serious our conversation gets, it always reverts back to someone getting fucked in the ass. So
right? It's, one way or another.
It's quite interesting.
I did remind me though. You're talking about
one way. It's we're all making fun of somebody,
right.
And it's just at the end of the day.
Yep. I remember the toilet paper when we had it was right at the height of coronavirus when the toilet paper shortages were happening, and you did the live stream. I think it was just you, me, and JJ with the literal wall of toilet paper behind you.
Oh, it was epic. Yeah,
it was a great flex.
I had like
you're like, oh, sorry, it's like it was like falling over in the middle of the. It was literally like 100 rolls. Yeah, this massive wall of it. It was like an igloo made of toilet paper rolls that you're inside of.
I really wish I was around for that.
It was great. Yeah. You can go back and watch. It might still be up. Some of that got demonetized for stuff that you're allowed to say now but couldn't say at the time.
It's very funny how we can say certain things, we can't say certain things.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And I think preppers are experiencing that. Well, anyways, gentlemen, I could jam some more here. What else?
We can keep going. I don't got anywhere to be. If you guys have some
I've got an event in a couple of weeks. It's the Preppers Meet here in Canada.
Right on.
Give myself a selfless plug here. It's July 6th to 9th. It's in Desborough, Ontario. You can go to annualpreppersmeet.com to check it out. I started it about a decade ago, and it's sort of this weekend where I get all these different presenters, everything, wild edible instructors, friction fire, shelter building. Like really, there's a schedule online. You can see all these different martial arts. I'm trying to get yoga this year. I don't think it's going to happen though.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just a real cool weekend. Eric, I got a twist your arm to come out to one of these things.
I know, yeah. Well, for a while, because I can get in there now, right? Not having the vax, because for a while I couldn't go to Canada. I had to cancel a trip actually. They wouldn't let me in without my vax passport. But is it open now or what?
I'm not too sure. There's, I don't pay attention to the border anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to check.
Okay, why don't you put the link up in the chat?
Yeah, and I can add
try
it.
here. I'm on the cell.
Or if you can't find it, email it later and I'll add it to the description. But yeah, if you get it, put it in the chat for sure. Cool. And if you guys who are watching have anything you want to talk about, getting pretty good. We actually did pretty good on the likes. We got 46 watching and 32 likes. So I appreciate it. Damn. So someone said a $10 super chat that didn't show up for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Let me see. I said top chat and live chat, and it's not showing. Can you read it, guys? You can see super chat and make sure we can read it. Sorry, I don't want to miss one.
Exactly.
Because we got Brian Hickenbottoms earlier, but now they're not showing up for me. Very strange. So I want to make sure I read it off.
Oh, I think I put it in the Zoom chat.
Oh, did you? Well, I can I can post it over.
Awesome.
Right. I think if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. So here I will put it in the chat. And that is the annual preppers meet. And where is that? In Ontario?
Yeah, 2 hours north of Toronto.
Cool. And if you're watching this later, I will put it in the description below too, so you won't have to watch through the chat. But Sean, can you just don't redo the super chat, but just post as a comment what you did as a super chat, and I will read it. Sorry for I don't know what the hell happened, but I definitely appreciate it. I popped the chat.
What exactly is a super chat?
It's when you donation, and it shows up usually a lot more obviously. But so make sure you get it read, and it totally screwed him over. Didn't put it up on the chat.
No, it wasn't me. I'm not connected.
I know. But now I can't even see the original one that that Brian did earlier. So I don't know what's going on with the chat. But yeah, if you can just repost a comment, I'll make sure I read it from you so you don't get lost. Sorry about that. See, Canadian Garden Girls live about half an hour away from the prepper meet. Oh, well, there you go. You're right up the road. 10 minutes late on the stream. A little bit more than 10 minutes. We started at 6, not 7, but glad you could make it. You can go back and watch it later. But we're not done just yet. We can go for a little while longer if you guys have stuff to talk about.
So Shay, I'm going to do my very best. Depending on what happens, I start work tomorrow, so I'm going to find out exactly what our hours and stuff are, and then I will be doing my very damnedest to try to get there Friday night. But depending on what time we get off,
excuse me.
Yeah, if not, I'll have to leave Saturday morning. I said I'm coming, so I am going to come.
Well, you'd have a fucking blast. I mean, just the people that you meet will be cool. I mean, as an example, I've got one a gentleman. He was a paramedic for 30 years in Toronto, and he worked as a guard as well. So he's just got some fucking fascinating stories and even survival related, talking about people that lived on the streets, just the different things that he's seen and come across. So I told him to do that. He wants to do like this sort of, he wants to do something medical related on stretchers and things like that. And I'm like, no, dude, just take a fucking microphone and talk about your life experiences that you've gone through, all the fucking, all these crazy experiences, like in the core of Toronto.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, pre-cell, videotaping days, right? So, but listen, like that, Daniel, you've got enough experience, rounded enough experience as a preparedness individual. I mean, like, I'd be happy to hear a chat on anything. There's a lot of newbies, a lot of people that are just getting their feet wet. Think of it that way. So if you did something comms related, I'm an open book. Whatever you want to teach, whatever day, it's all good, bro. So.
I've done up some lesson plans for
what?
Yeah.
You sound like RoboCop.
We'll definitely figure it out.
Your audio. Oh, and Sean Penrod, now his super chat came through. It's got a bouncing cheerleader, so I appreciate it.
Wow. Maybe he did that on purpose. It's like,
well, right. Oh, you have 30 seconds to comply.
Daniel, I didn't hear your question
totally
at all.
Are you froze up completely?
Is he? Oh, there you go. Well,
yep, we lost him. At least he's making a normal. He's not even making a weird face. You can't even make fun of him. Stuck making a totally normal face.
Can't defend himself now.
Yeah, right. Now it's time. Go. Yeah, I hope you can. If you can hear us, you're completely frozen up. Oh, we dropped him off. He gave.
That's it.
Yeah. So now we can really say whatever we want about him.
Yeah. I just thought he was. Yeah.
Never liked that guy anyway.
Son of a bitch. What's with the beard?
Yeah, exactly. What is that?
Grow up. Yeah.
Brian says, "Screw cancel culture and censorship." Absolutely, appreciate it, sir. The super chat. Yeah, it's getting bad out there, but I do think we're starting to see a watershed with regard to the cultural stuff where they've sort of forced it to be where there's no middle ground. You know, the curve's gotten steeper, so they won't let people just sit it out. So it's forcing people to take a side, which initially is bad, but now it's just like, you know what, we're going to be the enemy either way. So a lot more people are starting to push back a little bit on some of that stuff. But hopefully it doesn't get too crazy and violent.
It's like an abstract.
I will look into it, Rico. He says, open a subscribe star. I don't like to enrich YouTube. Yeah, I get it. I mean, as of right now, YouTube is still I've tried Rumble, never seemed to got much traction on any videos there. So I'll continue to put them up here as long as this is where most of the people are and the word can get out. But I will look into it. It's raining that hard. Crazy. So let me see if Daniel missed it. He said the internet here is shit. It's all right. No worries. Probably not going to go too much longer. He just said he is trying to come back. Tell me you have to close. You can't have the porn windows open and the live stream when you're on that when you're on that hotel internet. You got to choose one or the other. That was reminding me of there's this comedian called Dusty Slay who he was talking about being in a hotel and the Wi-Fi was no good. And he was like, well, so he asked the guy and he's like, well, it works down here in the lobby. And he was like, I don't think you know what I need Wi-Fi for. He's like, I'm not trying to read a spreadsheet.
Yes.
Yep. Superman wears a pair of Brian.
I think we're certainly entering a fascinating time period.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah. And I think most people need to realize that as crazy as it is, the worst case scenario is rarely what happens. And I think just like he talks about, and if you've ever read the book, How to Stop Worrying and Keep on Living, that he talked about the way to mentally deal with the problems is that you think about like what's the worst possible scenario, mentally deal with that in terms of like what you would do, how you decide how you would handle it. And that way, if it does happen, you know, you've got a plan, but usually that's not what's going to happen. It's rare that the worst case scenario happens. And if it does, you've already mentally dealt with it. So that anything else that happens is kind of like you can relax a little bit. It's not as bad as it could have been. And you've already dealt with anyway. And I think that applies to all this stuff that's going on in the world too. So.
It certainly does. It's concur. It's unfortunate that there's just very few people that, you know, there's very large or pressing issues happening with our species right now. I think like 3 out of 4 people are overweight.
What's up, Dan? You made it back? Oh yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad.
Anyways, we're gonna focus on the positive. What do we got? A couple minutes. Is he back here? There he is.
Yep, he's back.
Daniel, you get the last 2 minutes or 5 minutes.
Yeah, the floor is yours. You were gone, so now you get an extra.
Okay, we'll get back to what you were talking about. You're kicked out of the.
We'll do the open net. We'll pull the goalie. You got a power play for the next 2 minutes.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm going to do my best to try and make it down. If I can't make it down, we'll definitely have to come up with a when I'm back in Ontario to teach down in Toronto, like we did that time for the radio procedure. And you know what? I've already got classes picked out, and I will send you that. Once I'll just send me your email again, and I'll send you the classes that I have. And I have all the training aids for it as well, so it'll be a good time.
Cool, man. Sounds good. All right.
Cool. Yeah, unless you guys have anything else, I think that's a good time to call tonight.
All right.
Take it easy, gentlemen. It was fun.
All right. Later, guys. Cheers.
Yep. Take it easy. I will see you.
Oh, well.
Wait, what? Wait, we're live still. I'll talk to you later.
He can't leave yet.
He already left. I'll talk to you later.
He already left.
Yep. We'll see you, brother.